Hey everybody, welcome to the C Note Audio Extravaganza. This is your host, Mr. Christian Rivera, and you're listening to the show that is kind of like the dead of winter, cold outside but warm in your heart. Today I have Ron McKnight on the podcast, first episode of working with a guest, which I'm really excited about. I'm excited to have people on to talk about mental health and creating a vision for yourself and finding ways to push forward. Ron works with creating sales funnels and helping coaches specifically to find a way to get new business and do it without being salesy, which is interesting. And he's going to talk a little bit more about it in the podcast. And listen to the intro and then listen to our conversation and give us a call in and let us know what you're thinking about it. Okay, enjoy.
Drums, please.
Fantastic. We are in. Game on.
Right on.
Welcome to the party. How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty well. How about yourself?
Doing well. So I'm new to this Clearcast stuff, so we're just kind of figuring it out and wing it. This messy style is totally my jam. So
it's real and it's raw.
Yeah, that's authenticity is like kind of the thing that's coming into light these probably the past few years, but really it's like where people are going. So it fits me really well. So I've seen a lot of groups, and the group that we're in that really kind of fits that mold. So
for sure.
Yeah. So hi, welcome. So for those who don't know, this is Ron McKnight joining me, C Note, Mr. Christian Rivera, and we're gonna just kind of chat for a while and talk about life and things in life. So tell the people a little bit about you and me, because I don't know anything either.
Oh yeah, this is very, very impromptu. It's a little bit different.
Yep.
So I'm Ron McKnight. I'm very excited to be here. I'm normally on the other end. My wife and I, we have a membership site where we interview experts. We do video interviews, and basically anybody from SEO experts to Facebook ads, funnel builders, and we basically just pick their brain for about an hour. And we've got a Facebook group around all that. But that's not our main thing, but it's just interesting because normally I'm interviewing, so it's kind of fun to be on the other end and see how the pros do it.
I wouldn't call myself a pro, but I guess I am.
I feel like if you get started and you've got, you're building a presence, then yeah, you're out there doing it. You're a pro. But basically, when we're not doing that, we build funnels ourselves. So my wife's been writing direct response copy for, 4 or so years. She quit her main job back in the day. We were both teachers, English teachers, way back when, and I saw what she was doing. It's like, man, she gets to stay home and work in her PJs all day long, like work with cool people. This is awesome. So a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, I quit my job and basically got involved in the space, started working as a VA, started getting experience with ClickFunnels, Facebook ads, WordPress, and we've been able to just kind of niche down over the last year. Mostly now we call them change makers, but coaches and experts that want to make a positive impact on the world, by positively impacting that one person. They influence their family, their community, and then kind of just spreads out from there.
Yeah, and that's a big group of people, especially with the advent of the Gary Vaynerchuks in the world. There's a lot of people who want to do more marketing and coaching and raw stuff. But I think people are pushing more towards practical things, and it seems like what you guys are doing is helping people to put a practicality behind it and not just be someone on the internet saying, hey, do this, but giving actual tools to be something, to create something, to share with people.
For sure. And it's nice because we can pick and choose a little bit. So I mean, not to discount what life coaches or mindset coaches or anyone like that does, but there are certain coaches that I don't know can do more. And I think with Gary, everybody wants to get out there and they want to be teaching and they want to be the creative guru. There's a lot of people that are just kind of getting out there that maybe don't have the most experience to back up what they're trying to teach already.
Yeah, personal experience or professional experience. It's a fad. It's kind of like vloggers on YouTube. Everyone just wants to record their life and they think it's interesting, but you have to make it interesting. You can't just follow yourself around all day. So
we all think we're awesome, but it's like putting it out there, but it's like, oh, well, we all do the same. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a vlog of a nobody is, I don't know, like my mom would probably watch me go about my day, but that's about it.
and I did it for 30 days just to try it. I had a vlog and it was fun. It was actually an interesting process because for me, I was just working a daily, like a regular desk job. So it's like, how do you make that interesting? How do you make anything interesting? So I was just doing a lot of time lapses, and I was living in San Diego at the time. So there was a lot of beauty to share. But at the same time, I was trying to like mix different kind of just concepts to talk about in the midst of it to try to make it interesting. I stopped ultimately after a while because I didn't feel like I had a focus. But I thought it was useful from like a video production, like editing standpoint to figure out how I can make a vlog every single day and do something every single day. And with that in mind, like, is there something that that you show your clients or anybody that you would speak to from really any of that standpoint that people should do every day to be better at, being a coach or, getting more people to follow them?
Well, this is one thing that we do ourselves and we recommend it, and it also goes along with building some of that authenticity and just being yourself, and that's daily emails. So, I mean, Facebook is great, Instagram is great, all these different platforms are great, but we always recommend building an email list because that's an owned asset. So being able to get those leads in and then nurture them. I mean, you're not hard pitching them every day, but if you're familiar with like Ben Settle, the daily emails are just very infotaining. So my wife will tell a story, and like this week she's, post Christmas, she's doing like some holiday themed ones, but so they're always interesting. They're always entertaining. Sometimes there's soft pitches in there, but they're also really valuable. And that shows her personality, kind of what we've got going on. So it allows our list to get to know us, see what we do, and develop that connection rather than just, I don't know, just being kind of top of mind for them. So we always recommend for them. It doesn't have to be hard. It should be very conversational, like you're talking to a friend, and just daily, Monday through Friday, we email.
Right. You're not just trying to make a sale every time. You're trying to establish relationships, and when that need comes, they think of you first.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Awesome. I had a question. I lost it. Happens all the time, but that's what happens with the impromptu stuff. Do you think anyone can be interesting? That's a weird question, but
it is. I think so. And it's always like, you'll hear when you're at like dinner parties and stuff, this is like, I'll come back to the question, but to be interested. So it's almost like if you ask people a lot of questions and you seem engaged with what they're doing and just like enamored with whatever's going on, they're going to leave and be like, that person was awesome. They didn't learn anything about you, but they're so interesting just because it's so different that they're so focused on you. But I think that, to come back to the question, anyone can be interesting. They just kind of have to embrace like what makes them weird or different or whatever. They just have to take it and rock it and be like okay with it.
Right. And a lot of what I talk about on my podcast is like mindset related stuff. I don't really have like a goal. I'm just kind of like talking from a lot of personal experience because I've personally dealt with a lot of mental health issues and trying to sort of share ideas and build ideas based around that. And that all involves really diving into the authenticity. Once I lean more into who I am as a person, I find that more interesting. I think a lot of people stop themselves from sharing their part of the story because they either don't think someone will care about it, or they may not know how to present it. And do you think that's true, that a lot of people will kind of let me backtrack a little bit. I'm stumbling over my words. A lot of what I have talked about is sort of like sharing the ability that we have these days to create so many things because of the phone we have in our pocket, or something like Clearcast, which I'm using, or Anchor that I usually use, which is an app that I use usually for podcasting. There's just so many tools and things available for us to make things. Do you think there's like a big mass mindset issue that people are having that keeping them from doing things when there's so many things that are accessible? I don't know if that's a clear question.
Yes, and I may take it in a slightly different angle,
sure.
But I think that part of the problem is the internet. No, but the problem is the fact that we can see thousands and millions of people, and some of them are at the top of their game. They're like in the top percentile. So I always think of like Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. So I was a personal trainer in the past. And we can.
If you've been dying to start that podcast about doves, or about your favorite jacket, or about a long lost love, or a murder mystery about a cat who murdered everybody, you can start it now on Spotify for podcasters. I've been on Anchor for a long time, and now it is officially Spotify for podcasters, and it has been a platform that has been growing for forever. And I love it, and I still use it to this day, and it has hosted this podcast for 500 plus episodes now. So I highly recommend it. It is free to use. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. I'm literally on my bed recording on the phone is on the bed, and I'm just talking, and it's not that complicated. And then you can distribute your podcast on Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. So video podcasts are available too if you want to show your pretty face and have people see you. And you can do all that too. So just do it. It's totally free, no catch. Give it a try. Spotify for podcasters. Let's go.
We could dig into like why that is, but really big on physical fitness. And if I get on Instagram, I immediately see people who are better looking than me, stronger than me, faster than me, like better than me in all areas, because I'm seeing the best of the best. So it's hard for me to, when I get out there and even try and compete or do any things or be myself, because it's like, well, everybody already is doing it better, even though what we're really seeing is just such a small percentile of the entire world. You know, that's not average. That's not normal.
No, it really isn't. And for some reason, just because humans were really good at generalizing. So we see someone like that and we're like, everybody is better than me. That's not necessarily the case. And nor should you be comparing yourself to other people in general. But I think there's going to be, albeit slow, kind of a revolution against that. Or I can see it kind of bubbling a little bit with the authenticity kind of movement, I guess you can say, that's happening, where we're actively battling against the famous faces or the pretty pictures and the perfect lifestyles, when we can start to really share gratitude with more people and show that like our regular lives are pretty cool and interesting and fun.
Yeah. We don't have to have because there's always so much FOMO as far as travel is another big one. So beautiful people and travel, you see like all the glamorous shots and the oceans and the beaches, and it is just like, wow, that is my life sucks so bad. It's cold here, it's rainy. Like you would just look around and see that, and it's, I don't know, you don't see all that goes into the behind the scenes, and then you also don't see, I don't know, all the bad stuff too.
Right.
It reminds me of, there was a travel show, I can't think what it's called, but there was this British guy, his name was Carl, and he went in the first season of like, what was it?
Yeah, it was An Idiot Abroad.
Yes. And so it's like, I love it because he shows all the like dirty, bad things that you don't like. It's
Uh-huh.
not the glamorous stuff. It's like him in the Amazon and he's getting bug bit and he's like in India and he's sick. He's like all these horrible things. And it's like, that's real life. That's what that's what we experience, but that's not what we see everybody else doing.
Yeah, I remember specifically the Taj Mahal episode, and then the pyramids of Giza episode, where the camera pans out and you see all of the poor housing around everything, and he's like, "This place is shite. it's just terrible. Why would anyone want to come here?"
Yeah.
It's so funny, but I think that's a grander metaphor for like little things. Even with the vlogging, like when I was starting to think about it, or really anybody who wants to do it to promote something or try to bring awareness to something, they start to filter themselves. Like, I'm not interesting. What can I do to be interesting? Like, it's hard for people to think of like how their regular lives can be interesting. There's a guy, Peter McKinnon, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, who he kind of started out doing more just regular stuff in his home or around his neighborhood. Like now he does bigger things. He's gone to Iceland, stuff like that, which is cool because he's a good filmmaker, and I think he actually like deserves to that stuff. But at first he started just kind of like, his passion was coffee, and he was just doing fancy shots of coffee around his home, doing different shots and close-ups, and playing with different camera techniques and stuff, and sharing that stuff with the audience, but also just kind of sharing how everyday life and his personality, you can be an interesting person. You just got to be willing to throw yourself out there.
And I think know that some people just aren't going to like you. You know,
Yes.
I think that we like water ourselves down and we end up being bland because it's like, well, we don't want to, offend anyone or think anything differently or maybe go against the grain. But it's just like, that's being a person. If you have a unique personality, then some people will like you. Some people will be like, they could take or leave you. And some people like outright just dislike you. And that's okay. That's like, it's okay though.
I've always been of the mindset, if you're making some enemies, you're probably doing something right. You're ruffling some feathers. You're trying something different, and that's usually like any story. We were, Molly and I, my girlfriend, were watching Cosmos, and there's so many stories of people who just tried something a little bit different, or I mean, in that case, it's usually grander, like defining how we look at the stars versus the Earth and stuff like that. But it always started with everybody disagreed, or a large part of people disagreed, and they persisted, and they just kind of kept going with what they felt in their heart was the right thing to do, and eventually it turned out well for them. But some people ended up dying, but that's not what this is about. A lot of what I talk about on my podcast, and just for context, you're actually my first guest on this podcast. So actually,
wow.
My second, actually, but
not as cool, but still pretty cool.
Not as well. First in this new era. This is C Note 2.0.
Oh, excellent.
So you are the first official.
Awesome.
Let's just do that. So this is why it's kind of messy, but I also like it this way. I think it's just you get more natural cadence out of people. So with that, I'm figuring out what kind of questions to ask and stuff. But for the most part, on my podcast, when I'm talking by myself, which is not as exciting, I talk a lot about personal mental health because me personally, I've been diagnosed with cyclothymia, which is a low-grade bipolar disorder, which kind of affects and shifts my mood and such. And it's something that I like to talk about with different creatives because a lot of people are not comfortable being open about it. I don't know if that's something you've experienced personally, but I think in general, mental health is good for us to take care of, whether or not you're dealing with an illness or anything. So are there any things that you do for yourself throughout your day or every other day, or you give yourself time at some point during the week for yourself to kind of keep yourself happy and healthy and moving? And you talked about training in the past and going to the gym, so maybe that's a good segue into that.
Yeah, I think this is so important, and I could talk about this stuff all day because I had mentioned before I'm a personal development nerd. I don't like to just take things in. It's not just reading, but it's actually trying to experiment and find little ways to improve my life. So this year, so basically the long and short of the training is, growing up, I was really chubby and was picked on because of it. And so it wasn't until I was in college probably that I was able to start figuring out nutrition. We just had no idea. Nutrition, training. Over the course of a few years, I ended up, from my heaviest to my lightest, probably lost about 100 pounds. So it was like a huge deal for me mentally and physically, but that was just like the beginning. You know, I still, not that today I've like got it all figured out, but it's continually improving. But this year, my biggest things are morning routines. So it's always changing a little bit. But like this morning, I'll get up and I try to meditate. I've got a Headspace app, which I've been using for, I think, 80 days in a row now. So I actually bought it. So I invested and I haven't missed a day because I'm like, I paid for a year of this, so I better be using it. But so I'll meditate. I'll actually read like a chapter out of my Bible. I'll read something called the Daily Stoic. And if I have time, I'll read another book, which right now I'm reading Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, which he introduced me to Stoicism. That's like, we should definitely do a podcast all about Stoicism one day, because that would be awesome.
Yes, I have talked about that. I'll send you a link to an episode of that I've talked about Stoicism for a little bit, so we can go into that a little bit more. Because I read a book called The Art of Stoic Joy, I think it was called. That's the only real book I've read on it. It's fairly new for me, but it's interesting to go into it and realize that there was a lot of philosophies in life that I have adopted that I didn't know that were Stoic philosophies, and are really fascinating. But yeah, I'll write that down. Let's do a follow-up about Stoicism in particular, because I think there's a lot that we can share with people on just like tools and stuff, and how to use Stoicism in your daily life without having to like subscribe to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's the only philosophy that I've encountered that is super practical and actionable. It's like it's literally in the DNA to not just think about this stuff, but like actively use it to improve your life and therefore those of people around you, you know? Right.
Yeah. Tools of Titans goes into that quite a bit. I didn't realize that. That was on my list of books to check out. How's that going so far?
Really good. So it seems like his podcast, but, you know, condensed. So each chapter will be an interview with Dom D'Agostino or, I don't know who all he's got. I've made it through the first few. I don't know how much Stoicism is going to come up, but it was his podcast and some of Ryan Holiday's books that actually introduced me to Stoicism as a philosophy.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely plan to break into that a little bit more. Stoked for that. That'll be great.
That'll be sweet because, and this is the last thing I'll say, just because being freelancers and creatives and on your own, it's there's so much ups and downs. Like I don't know, it's having a job is hard, but having to find your job and keep your job and do your job, and it's just like you with a computer sometimes, the emotional ups and downs, the feast and famine, like it's really difficult sometimes. So having something that's a little more practical to fall back on when it is really tough is super beneficial for me.
Yeah, the swings are a big deal, and that's why I want to talk about mental health and mindset so much. I think that's why a lot of people do who kind of like quote unquote have figured it out, though I don't think anyone's actually figured it out. But we're, trying to help each other because we know how hard it is, and sometimes it's incredibly lonely. Like, it's nice when you have a partner you're working with, somebody who's also an entrepreneur type, and you happen to be married with them or something. And but sometimes it's a very lonely endeavor. Sometimes your family doesn't know what the hell you're doing. Like, they wish you went to college, or they wish you did this, or they wish you did that. And it can be a very troublesome road, which is why, it's so important, which is essentially the core of the goal of these podcasts, is to find out what people's thoughts on that stuff is. So it seems like you've been doing a lot of good things to continue your to keep yourself moving in a way that's healthy and happy and living a good life, which sounds great.
Well, I feel like one of my main I don't know, it's not a goal because it's like never reached, but it's just continually improving, continually learning. I went to school to be a teacher. I taught for a few years. It ultimately wasn't for me, but I think part of the reason I went into it is because I've always enjoyed reading, learning, and trying to make things either more efficient, quicker, easier, like better in some way. And so I'm like the ultimate thing I can improve upon. So it's always something to tweak or somehow improve, and like the mental, because it's never like, okay, well, I'm happy today, I'm confident, so I'm done. It's, it's like everything is good. Life, just leave me alone now. I've arrived.
Right. It reminds me, the way you said I'm done reminds me of it. It's a little bit off topic, but there's a Mike Birbiglia stand-up special called My Girlfriend's Boyfriend that he talks about when he was like looking for someone. He's like in his he's like 18 or 19. And he was like, I got a girlfriend and she loves me and I'm done. But it's like, I remind myself of that because we all think that we need to get something specific to be done in life. The only way we're done is when we're dead, really. But, we're always, it's more about the process and maintenance of who we are as a person and growing and building relationships and such. Like, I think that's the only way to approach life personally.
Agreed.
So I saw that you're also involved with the video group. I forget what it was called.
Yes, the art of video attraction, I think.
Yeah, is that something you want to talk about a little bit and kind of share with the people what you guys do there?
You know what? Yes, because it goes along with authenticity and continually improving yourself. So we've been doing the membership side I mentioned for a few months now, but I was always nervous when I was getting on calls with people. So not only for the interviews, but also, we onboard our clients. So we usually talk beforehand, sometimes do a discovery call. And so I just always felt like I could improve that. So I talk very quickly when I'm excited and when I'm nervous. So most people usually can't tell the difference because it's just always quick. But right. I wanted to work on my presence, both for video and then also for calls. So I joined that group randomly, and I actually found the Gorilla group from the video group. So it's worked out really well because they've got the same mindset. But I joined with the intention of, I'm going to start doing Facebook Lives. I'd never done them before. I'm just going to get in here. There's only 1,500 people. So at least the worst that's going to happen is 1,500 people laugh at me. It's not that big a deal. And he does a weekly prompt, which is like 2 minutes, do X. So tell us about your first job, or tell us like what's your ambitions or what's your favorite hobbies. And so it's something that's, always kind of top of mind. It's not like, well, what do you think about the universe? And you got to So I really like the live format. I've actually been doing more of those in my group because you don't have the chance to be a perfectionist. Like, you can't edit, you can't go back and add shiny graphics and make it better. It's like, it's just you and your thoughts, and you just go, and I don't know, it is real and raw and authentic. So it's been great for me, just forcing myself to get on camera and just get out there and be me and be confident in, I don't know, I'm me, and that's enough.
Yeah, essentially lead by example, because there are so many people who stop themselves because I don't have the right tools, I don't have this. And it's like, you have a cell phone, which has a pretty good camera. So turn that thing around and point it at yourself and start talking. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's nice. I like the prompts. I haven't, I'm in the group, but I haven't participated yet because I'm a multimedia designer. I'm just like kind of observing the groups because I think they're really rad. I've participated in the Gorilla group quite a bit because there are some really rad people in there, super authentic. They just talk about stuff and share, and everyone's open and rad. And Landon does a great job with his live videos and stuff. And then I've watched a couple of the video for business stuff that you guys are doing, and it's a really great group. So I highly suggest anyone go check that out. And I could I can post a link and all that fun stuff if you want to send me, or no, I'll find it and send it. So yeah, that's really rad. What else? I had like other little questions. Do you have like a favorite type of entertainment or YouTube channel or something that you like to check out for reference? Like, for example, I go to Peter McKinnon quite a bit. Like I said, on YouTube, he does a lot of tutorials. He does a lot of really great stuff. I know you guys have your group. What do you use yourself to reference to grow, to try new things and get inspiration from?
If it's as far as like tech work related things, normally I'll have certain people for each one. So like Facebook ads, John Loomer, I'll follow, his page, get his emails. He's just really good at no fluff. It's not super sexy. It's just like super practical Facebook ads knowledge. Like he's the go-to guy. As far as funnels, I mean, being able to copy Russell Brunson and whatever he's got going on is usually a pretty good thing to do. I know that we've also got a lot of his trainings as far as the Funnel Hackers course and some of the bonuses he's done. So his stuff is really good. All of his books and stuff are really good. And then I'm trying to think. Digital Marketer is the other one that we've went through their certification courses for a few different things, but they're another one that's very, like, if I buy something, I want to feel like, everybody wants to feel like they got their money's worth, but their stuff is always really high quality, super dense. It's not like super fluffy, real, just they sucker you in with the marketing and then you just get like a crappy little course. It takes weeks to go through them. You actually have to take a test. You can fail. You have, to get certified, you have to pass. I think it's 70% something. Anyways, but so you can fail. It's not just like you're buying a certification, but those are probably the three: John Loomer, Russell B. and all he does, and Digital Marketer. As far as the marketing world, that's pretty much my go-to guys and gals.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are coming out with some really amazing courses for things, but also almost in lieu of some college courses for some people, for a lot of people, because there's so much free stuff on the internet. But then when you get into like paid tier stuff, I think because there's so much good free content that the premium stuff has to be really good in order to sell it. So it seems like I haven't personally dove into a lot of those paid courses, but from what I've gathered and people talking about it, it seems like, what you guys do and what, the guerrilla marketers do and so many other different groups are doing are really providing so much depth and value in that sense. And I think it's great for the industry. I think it's a nice way for people to be able to get knowledge, but be able to be paid for their knowledge as well. So just a couple of quick, like, silly offhanded questions. What's your favorite color, sir?
Red.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah, and this is funny too about the confidence thing. It didn't used to be, because red is like kind of loud and like kind of attention grabbing. So back in the day, it probably would have been like just a dark, like blue or gray or just something like, don't look at me, but now I actually have on my red hoodie. I have a lot of red hoodies. It's like my favorite thing.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. I've been going more towards like the pink and purple for some reason. Like ever since I discovered that pink and purple kind of look good on me as like a button-up shirt, and just kind of, I kind of went through like a men's style renaissance a few years ago. And then started like trying different colors, and I'm like, pink looks really good on me. This is awesome. And really just kind of like started embracing the pinks and purples into both my wardrobe and in my branding. So I love those colors.
That's awesome.
Always gives off kind of an 80s vibe too. So.
Yeah, which is always plus.
Right. Do you have a favorite curse word?
I do. I probably shouldn't say it on the air though.
You can, it's fine.
So my favorite,
probably should have said that up front.
Yeah. So, and cursing is like such a funny thing. So in my branding, I normally don't. In our personal life, I normally do. But the one that's used on a daily basis in my house is motherfucker. just because like you can use it in so many different ways. You can add an ing, you can throw it in front of this, in front of that, just as its own standalone. It's very versatile.
Right. Yeah, I like the classic just, fuck. But it's usually like in a comedy context, or I don't know. I mean, cursing is interesting. I've had conversations about that, which is actually another topic I probably have with other people.
That's the thing. I never try to use it. Never use your curse words in anger. Never just throw them at people. That's the thing. It's like because my wife and I, it's more of just like a funny, like the dogs are doing something stupid, or like, you know, like all shucks, but you know, with fucking. So it's the same idea as opposed to like you blanking and like, oh, like hurling at people.
Yeah, that's hateful and no fun. And like words are, you can have fun with words, but don't be ridiculous. I mean, yeah.
There's a SpongeBob episode, which is like probably, I don't know if it probably dates me because I was, I don't know, in like middle school I remember the first episode when it came out, but there's one where they discover curse words on the back of like an old dumpster. And so the episode is so funny because you don't know what they are, but they like do dolphin sounds. So they'll be like, oh, what the? And so the whole episode is them like using these.
I remember.
And they call them the sentence enhancers. Like you just sprinkle them over your sentences and it just makes everything better. And it's like, yeah, it is kind of like curse words.
I'm going to edit a clip of that into the end of this podcast. Yes. It's going to be fantastic. I remember that episode. It's probably dating me because I'm pretty sure SpongeBob wasn't around when I was in middle school. But you know, it's a good time. So, I mean, let's see. One last question that I just wrote like random stuff. Let's see if anything worked out. I guess two last questions. If you could pick, or if you've ever considered a different profession in your life, not that if you could pick one, but if you have ever kind of like started going in one direction and then kind of veered off for whatever reason, what's that story like, if so?
So it's kind of answers the question and kind of not, which are usually my favorite answers, which I feel like I've prefaced everything I say with, yeah, this kind of answers your question, but not really at all, which...
whatever, as long as it's something to talk about.
So I guess I decided in high school, my English teacher inspired me to be a teacher. I hadn't necessarily planned on going to college. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but she had a huge influence on me. I'd always read growing up, was a voracious reader, not much in the writing, but loved to read. And so I decided to do that. I pursued it for the first, I guess, 3 years of undergrad, started actually teaching in the schools for practice, doing like my, not quite student teaching, but just getting like some field hours, and realized, man, teaching is super hard and super stressful. I don't think I want to do this. So I ended up just getting a English undergraduate, but my college actually offered me a position at the college, and they said they would pay for my master's in teaching. So I ended up working there, getting my master's, actually teaching there for a couple of years. And even with college students, I realized that like I just couldn't do it. So left teaching, worked in manufacturing that's basically what I did. It was college teaching, CNC manufacturing, and then I started as a VA and just kind of worked my way up.
Right. I think that's a good story for, I always like asking that question because people, especially young kids, I don't know what my demographics are for this podcast yet, but when I've had a couple of like college kids like ask me, because of my expertise with like media and stuff, like they're like, how do I get a job in this, and how do I get an internship, and like just worried about like their life, and like how do I know which career is the right one and stuff like that. It's like, dude, things are going to shift so much, and they have for so many people. Like you start going in one direction, and then sort of like you meet someone and they give you an idea of what you could do, or you become aware of a job that you didn't know existed, and then you start going that way. You know, it's like we always ask kids when they're like 6 years old, like, what do you want to be? I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a digital marketer. Like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, life changes and shifts. And I think that story helps Bring that home.
Well, even within my VA, the time from 2 years ago, starting in digital marketing to where I am today, there have been so many pivots and shifts that I had no idea that were going to happen. So I like the phrase, I don't know where I picked it up, clarity through action. It's just getting started, and then you figure it out as you go. Because if you wait for the perfect time, the perfect idea, I'm going to do this, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's really good for when anyone's even stuck in any kind of a rut. You just, if you're a writer, you just start writing something, and then it could morph into something. Start just doing a podcast, and here we are. We're 40 minutes in, and we're still talking, so there's no weird dead air. That's great. So I consider this a success at this point. I could just hit stop, and we're done. But I do have one more question, and I'm always curious about this personally. But how much of your process in terms of your day-to-day life are you doing on your phone versus your laptop? Because for me, I'm always interested in the tech landscape and how that's shifting. And for me personally, I do probably 85% of my stuff on my phone. Like I wanted to record this on my phone through Anchor. And because I'm a designer and editor, I do like editing projects on my laptop, and I do graphic design stuff on my laptop. But for the most part, I'm marketing on my phone. I could even podcast on my phone in most cases. And you're doing like Instagram stories and Snapchat and stuff that basically requires your phone. So I'm curious about what your workflow is, if you're using your phone more than not, or what's that like these days.
So I'm in the complete opposite direction in that I try to put my phone on silent and I leave it in the other room. That's a good. Just because it's such a distraction. I mean, I use it when I go out. I have email on my phone, like most people. But other than that, I mean, I can type quicker on a keyboard as far as emails, and anything else I would do. Yeah, it helps me like designing funnels, mapping everything out to have the bigger screen, and keyboard and a mouse.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. For me, I like using my phone. I definitely, the one trick that I use is I keep my phone on silent even while I'm actively using it, so I'm not getting buzzes, or if I have it in my pocket, I'm not getting buzzes. I'm controlling my usage of the phone. I'm not letting it control me. And I'm very, very specific about what apps are on my phone, the notifications, stuff like that. So, because I know my ADD brain would do the same thing and get distracted by every little thing. So it's hard.
I had to recently get rid of Instagram on my phone because I would use it like I would go to get lunch, and I would pull up, well, let me just get on Instagram for a few minutes while I eat. And it's like, that's literally dead time that I could be reading, I could be listening to a podcast, I could be doing just thinking about life, like something productive. But instead I just go to my default and pull up my phone and, start mindlessly scrolling, and I get done. I don't know what I looked at, but there went 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah, that time becomes more and more valuable as we keep moving forward. Okay, so I think that's a decent amount of time, a good 41 minutes. So
cool.
I thank you for your time. This is super rad. I would love to do this again, especially like, let's pick a time to like, we can just keep talking about the Stoicism stuff. I would love to do something specifically for that. Maybe we can, I don't know, pick a book or some topics or something, and then kind of break some of that stuff down. I think it'd be fun to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that would be awesome. You just let me know. This has been like super fun.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you had a good time. So is there anything else you would like to plug before we call this a day?
No. If you need funnels, hit me up. If you need anything else, just, I don't know, just go out there and do it. That's like my biggest thing is like, if you want something to happen, if you want something to change, just start doing something. That's why I like what you did with this podcast is, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want a podcast, so I'm just going to start podcasting. Not like, well, I got to make sure I got the perfect mic, and maybe I'll decide to do videos, so I better get the perfect lighting, and let me have next month's all mapped out. It's like, I'm just going to get on the air, hit record, and let's just see what happens.
Exactly. So do you have a website or anything specific, like a website or like social media handles you want to share? Or, I could post that stuff in the comments and stuff too.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're basically the Funnel Rehabbers, my wife and I. So just www.funnelrehabbers.com. And if you see me around the groups, say hey. And
all right.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, Ron McKnight, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Start with your foul words. You're gonna give the crusty crab a fresh coat of paint from top to bottom. Wow! Oh my foot! What? She just brought a rocket of bath! Can't you see I got a butt here? No, hold on. I'm excited, but I ain't been helping. Grab it.
We're gonna tell your mom, Mr. Krabs!
Hey everybody, I want to thank you guys for listening to the Seed Audio Extravaganza. If you would like to go to HiMyNameIsChristian.com, you can sign up for my newsletter where you'll get the written version of the podcast, and follow me on Rival My Design on all the social channels and all that good stuff. We can chat and have ourselves a jolly good time wherever it is that I am. So I really appreciate it. And thank you guys. I hope you have a good one.